Bam! The only time you're allowed to have coffee is before you do cardio, lift weights, or have sexy time. That's the only time you're allowed, and you're addicted to caffeine. What do you think will happen? Coach Greg, and in today's video, it's all about caffeine and how you can use caffeine to improve performance, your cognitive enhancement, improve your mood, everything you ever wanted to know about caffeine. And in case you didn't know, caffeine is in fact a drug. However, it is legal, and it's the most used drug in the entire world. Almost everyone, as in the vast majority of people, have used caffeine at least sometime in their lives. Problem is, most people, they don't even think about it. They don't know what it does or why or how to use it most effectively to improve your daily lives. And one of the things caffeine does is it really does help with weight loss. Not only does caffeine improve your BMR, your metabolism at rest, by allowing you to burn more calories, it also increases your NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. What that means is you fidget more, you move around more, you simply have more energy. And on top of that, it can and will improve your exercise performance. If you're going for a run, training in the gym, you'll burn more calories because you have more energy, you can go harder than last time. And so caffeine, it's an amazing molecule, a drug that many of us can implement to improve our performance, mental health, everything. And one of the things with caffeine is it not only improves your metabolism, it also causes you to be more full. It makes you feel more satiated, as in you don't want to eat as many calories. And so caffeine, whether it's in your daily cup of coffee or in your pre-workout, like pre-workout 2.0 or hardcore pre-workout, it's going to give you a lot of energy and cause you to be less hungry. You're more full, less hungry, easier to put the fork down, and so very good at helping with weight loss. And so the problem with caffeine is most people abuse it. Most people who consume caffeine are doing it first thing in the morning to help them wake up. You get up, have a cup of coffee. Wow, great, gives you a ton of energy. Problem is, you are going to experience a crash early in the afternoon. Almost guaranteed. Caffeine technically doesn't give you energy. It borrows it. The problem is later on, you're going to need that energy. When you first wake up in the morning, you just had 8 hours of sleep. You don't need a ton of energy. You're relaxed, you feel good, you wake up, you look at the sun, and bam, you're back to normal. You should be able to function like a normal human being in the morning without coffee. If you can't, you are addicted. That's right, you're addicted to caffeine. And how do I know this? Because I was addicted. I was having 2 or 3 massive cups of coffee every single morning. It was way too much, and I was crashing later in the day, and it was dramatically affecting my sleep. I'd start to feel the crash in the afternoon, take a massive double heaping scoop of pre-workout, and I could barely feel it. And so what did I do? Well, I did a caffeine detox. I went an entire month without consuming any caffeine whatsoever, not even in a diet pop. And so I did this as an experiment, and also because I wanted to leverage caffeine to boost my performance, both cognitively and physically. And so the thing with caffeine that you need to remember is it's a potent reinforcer. Anything you do that you can do with caffeine, you're going to enjoy it that much more. I don't care if it's cardio, weights, or if you're trying to attract a girl. Imagine this. Every time you go on a date, you give your girlfriend a cup of coffee. She's thinking, wow, this feels good. When you drink caffeine, it releases dopamine, adrenaline, energy. And you're thinking, wow, I really like this guy. Every time I see this guy, I feel good. It feels amazing. I must like this guy. I'm going to hang around with him more often. And oddly enough, it might be because of the caffeine. And so you might be an average Joe, but because you're giving the girl a cup of Joe, she's going to like you. Think about it. It makes sense. And so if you really want to enjoy doing an activity, try saving that caffeine, that cup of coffee, that pre-workout for the activity you want to learn to enjoy. And so rather than getting up and having a cup of coffee, just get up and look at the sunlight. Have decaf coffee. You love coffee, take out the caffeine, you're still gonna taste the coffee. It's still the same thing, except you're not gonna get that jolt, that energy that goes with the coffee. But save it for later. The less caffeine you have, the more you will feel it later. If you save your caffeine for later and you consume less of it, the feelings you get, the dopamine, the rush, the energy, the positivity from doing the activity with the caffeine, it's going to be experienced that much more. And so, of course, before I do my cardio, bike race on Zwift, lifting weights at the gym, I always consume my coffee. And for me, it's in the form of a pre-workout from HCLT Subs. You can get your caffeine anywhere, but if you save it for those activities, you're going to love those activities that much more. Maybe you don't love cardio. Maybe you don't. You don't have the genetics for it. You just simply don't want to do it. But if every time you're going to do that cardio, you're going to drink the coffee or have the pre-workout, you're going to enjoy it that much more. And so you train your body to get dopamine from physical activity. Doing physical activity, cardio, lifting weights, it's good for you. And so save the positive reinforcement of the caffeine for when you're doing something good. And to the opposite extent, if you're trying to negatively reinforce an activity, don't consume caffeine with the things you're not trying to do. For example, if you're trying to cut out candies, junk foods, chips, don't drink coffee at the same time. And so the smart person would say, well, every time I eat my vegetables, I'm going to have my coffee then. Imagine that. The only time you can have coffee is when you're eating fruits and vegetables or low-calorie dense foods. You will have positive reinforcement. You will associate fruits and vegetables with feeling good. Sooner or later, you'll be eating fruits and vegetables more often than last time, losing weight, being healthy, getting in your fiber. And so imagine this. The only time you're allowed to have coffee is before you do cardio, lift weights, or have sexy time. That's the only time you're allowed. And you're addicted to caffeine. What do you think will happen? You're going to do either more weights, more cardio, or more sexy time. That's right. Whatever amount of caffeine you're consuming now, have less of it and save the majority of it for the activities you're trying to enjoy more. It really is that simple. And so what did I do? I stopped drinking regular coffee and switched to decaf. Research does support that the less often you have caffeine, the more effective it really is when you actually consume it. Depending on how much caffeine you're taking daily, you may not want to cut it all completely. You'll get headaches, you'll feel lethargic, you just won't feel that good. But you can always reduce it in half. If you drink 2 cups of coffee in the morning, have 1 regular and 1 decaf. It really is that simple. Every second pop or soda that you're drinking, make sure it's a decaf. And what actual benefits does caffeine have in the real world? Can it actually benefit you? Abso-friggin-lutely. Caffeine has been shown to decrease reaction time. That's how long it takes to react to a gun. And so imagine you're in the Olympics looking for the gold medal. You drink caffeine every single day. It gives you energy. You are always drinking it morning till night. Versus the other athlete, he has it sparingly. And on the day of the race, consumes caffeine 1 to 3 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. For the average person, it's about 1 to 300 milligrams. That person will react to that starting gun that much faster. Perhaps 0.01 of a second. It could be the difference between the gold medal and the silver medal. Another example, you're in the UFC. You have to react to punches back and forth all the time. You drink caffeine, you will react that much faster. You see the punch coming, you can duck. You can punch back. And so imagine just how important caffeine really is. And just so you know, it was once a performance-enhancing drug banned in the Olympics. However, they said there's so many people consuming caffeine, we just can't ban it anymore. We're going to allow them to use it. And so it's one of the rare drugs that they actually allow in the Olympics that they know for certain can result in a performance-enhancing benefit. And it's not just physical, it's also mental. If you drink a cup of coffee and start studying for exam or go to class, you will remember what's being spoken about that much more. And so before listening to Coach Greg, have your cup of Java. You will remember what I said a little bit more. Not only that, it can help your memory or recall. And so imagine this, you're on Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, and your chance is there and you drank caffeine, you can remember that much quicker. You know the answer, but with caffeine, it's right there. Bam! Now, to fully optimize the benefits of caffeine in the Olympics or Jeopardy and so on, you need to give yourself about 5 days of having no caffeine. But who the heck wants to do that? That's too much. If you go 5 days without caffeine, you might be lethargic, not have energy, and so it could negatively impact your life. And so my advice is not to just go 5 days without it. It's to use the least amount that you need to make you happy. Don't drink it all day long. Save it for when you need it. If you have plenty of energy and you feel good, don't drink the coffee. Drink decaf. However, if you need the energy, you're feeling low that day, by all means, have yourself a cup of coffee. But save your strongest doses for when you need it the most. And so if you're racing bikes, doing cardio, well, use a little bit of caffeine on a regular day. You're training zone 2, perhaps zone 3. It's not that hard, no problem. But on race day, perhaps it's Saturday, you're going for a very hard workout. You're going for your 1 rep max in the gym. That's the day to up the dose. Perhaps 3 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of body weight, all in one sitting. And remember, if you have caffeine multiple times a day, it's most likely going to negatively impact your sleep. Caffeine has a half-life of approximately 5 hours. And so if you drink 200 milligrams of caffeine, about 2 cups of coffee, 5 hours later, you will still feel half of its effects. Half-life, 5 hours, 100 milligrams left. Quarter life, quarter of it left, 50 milligrams, 10 hours later. And so if you drank a 200 milligrams of caffeine at noon, by 10 p.m., there's still approximately 50 milligrams of caffeine left in your system. And for some people who are highly sensitive to caffeine, that is enough to disturb your sleep. And so the number one thing to remember with caffeine is do not consume enough of it too late that it affects your sleep. And so if you're not able to get quality sleep, of course, go and see your doctor. But one thing you can do is try Delta Sleep. It has amazing ingredients that not only help you get to sleep faster, but to get a longer and more restful night of sleep. Make sure your sleep is optimal. Give Delta Sleep a try. Another thing you can do is not consume caffeine every single day. Perhaps you do it every other day, or perhaps you go 2 days without it. Personally, I don't like this idea. I'd rather have a little bit of caffeine. The RDA suggests no more than 400 milligrams per day. That's actually a lot. That's more than most pre-workouts, even if you're double scooping, going crazy on the stims. And so if you're consuming over 400 milligrams of caffeine, it's a lot. And trust me, many of us are. I personally am consuming close to 1 gram of caffeine a day. And so all you need to do is reduce your caffeine intake, and before you know it, your body will adapt. You won't need nearly as much. When I take pre-workout now, I used to do double heaping scoops and I could barely feel it. Now, 1 1/4 scoops and I'm amped. I am quite pumped. And so you see the difference? By simply reducing your caffeine intake and only taking when you need it, you can make a lot out of a little. One thing I do want to caution you is I've coached people in the past who simply couldn't have any caffeine. They would quite literally have 1 can of Diet Coke and experience anxiety, irritability, couldn't sleep. And so if you're one of those rare individuals, be careful with your caffeine. And if you've never had caffeine before, don't start on a day that it's really important. Experiment at first. That dream job that you want during that interview, that's not the time to try 3 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of body weight. You walk in amped up, anxiety, oh my God, I'm freaking out. Not what they want to see. And so be sure to experiment it. Start with the lower doses, 1 milligram per kilogram. Then you can titrate up. Go to 2, then 3. Try not to go beyond 3. You probably don't need it. And at that level, you might experience some shakiness, some anxiety, and just not good. Use caffeine to your advantage. Don't abuse it. The least that makes you happy, that is the amount to use. And save the strongest doses for when you really want to win. Subscribe and click that bell button. That's all you need to do. Of course, you can buy Harder Than Last Time supplements to support me. Use code Greg, 10% off. But if you can't do that, leave a comment, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. That's more than you'd ever need to do. Thanks for doing that. Watch one of the 2 bloops. Follow me on Instagram, Greg Doucette, IFBB Pro. Don't forget to get my friggin' cookbook. I do cameos, phone consults, coaching plans by me and my team. That's right. You can hire Coach Greg. And until next time, I am out.